Have you ever really thought about what it takes to protect our digital lives? I mean, it's this whole world of invisible threats and super complex defenses. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain, and we're going to do it by following the story of a guy named Anthony, who goes from being this nervous job candidate to a key player on the digital front lines. So, let's jump in and follow his journey.
So this is where it all kicks off. It's a simple question in a job interview at a tech company, big tech. But this one question really sets the stage. It frames this whole field not as some boring textbook you have to memorize, but as this exciting, hands-on challenge that requires some serious thinking and problem solving. And spoiler alert, he gets the job. So Anthony is now an entry-level IT support technician. But look, the interview, that was just the first step. It's his first day at big tech, where the real education begins, right in the middle of this fast-paced world of tech and security. On that first day, his HR rep, Sarah, she asks him to define IT in his own words. And this is what he comes up with. And you know what? It's a fantastic, super simple way to put it. Information technology isn't just about fixing laptops. It's the entire digital infrastructure. We're talking servers, networks, software, the whole shebang that lets a modern company do its thing. Sarah then breaks down 3 terms that, let's be honest, people mix up all the time. Think of it like this. Information technology, or IT, that's the big wide universe of all the tech. Then you have information security, which zooms in on protecting all the company's info, whether it's a digital file or a piece of paper in a filing cabinet. And then cybersecurity, that's a laser-focused piece of information security that deals specifically with defending digital stuff from digital attacks. Now, if Anthony really wants to succeed, he's got to learn the fundamental rules of the game. And these aren't just, suggestions. They are the core models that form the foundation of every single security policy he's ever going to make. Let's start with the big one, the CIA Triad. Okay, so the C in the CIA Triad stands for confidentiality. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's all about secrecy. The goal is simple. Make sure sensitive information is only seen by the people who are supposed to see it. It's all about preventing things like your private emails or the company's secret new project designs from getting into the wrong hands. Next up, the I is for integrity. This is all about trust. Is the data you're looking at accurate and reliable? Integrity makes sure that information hasn't been secretly changed or messed with by someone who shouldn't have access. Without it, think about it, financial records could be faked and medical files could be dangerously wrong. And the last piece of the triad, A, stands for availability. Because really, what good is perfectly secret and trustworthy data if the people who need it can't get to it? Availability is all about making sure systems are up and running so that authorized users can get the information they need when they need it. When your banking app is down right when you need to make a transfer, that's a failure of availability. So that's the CIA Triad. That defines the goals of security. Now let's talk about the AAA model, which defines the process of security. And the first A is authentication. This is basically the prove it step. It's you verifying your identity. It's just like showing your library card to prove you're allowed to be there. That's authentication. Okay, so once you've been authenticated, you've proven who you are, the next step is authorization. This part decides what you're actually allowed to do. Just because the librarian authenticated you with your library card doesn't mean you're authorized to go into the employee-only back room, right? Authorization is all about setting the right permissions for the right people. And the final A is for accounting. You could also think of it as auditing, which might be easier to remember. This is all about creating a log, a digital paper trail of everything a user does. The library system records who checked out which book and when they did it. In the digital world, accounting tracks who accessed what data, from where, and at what time. It is absolutely vital for any security investigation. All right, so Anthony's got the core principles down, but why are they so incredibly important? To really get that, we have to move from theory to reality. We have to look at the actual threats that make all these principles necessary. So let's step onto the digital battlefield, and we'll start with the very first major attack. So get this, on November 2nd, 1988, a grad student named Robert Morris unleashes this experimental, self-replicating program, a worm, onto the internet, which was still just a baby back then. A bug in his code made it spread way, way faster than he ever meant it to. And within 24 hours, it had infected about 10% of all the computers connected to the internet, bringing military and university systems to a grinding halt. That accident, that was the world's wake-up call. Now, let's fast forward from that one little worm to today. The stakes have skyrocketed. According to the FBI, cybercrime caused over $10 billion in reported losses in just the last 5 years. What started as one student's little experiment has exploded into a massive, global criminal industry. And the threats themselves, they've evolved like crazy. It's not just about worms anymore. Today, professionals like Anthony have to defend against all sorts of things. You've got phishing attacks that try to trick people into giving up their info, ransomware that literally holds your data hostage, Trojans disguised as harmless software, and DDoS attacks that just try to overwhelm and shut down services completely. So, with all these threats coming from every possible direction, how in the world do organizations build their defenses? Well, it's not about building a simple wall anymore. The strategies have to be just as smart and sophisticated as the attacks. It's time to build a modern digital fortress. One of the most important modern strategies is something called zero trust. See, the old model was kind of like a castle with a moat. Once you were inside the network, you were generally trusted. Zero trust throws that entire idea out the window. The new motto is never trust, always verify. Every single request for access, no matter where it's from, is treated as a potential threat and has to be verified. And this analogy just illustrates it perfectly. Imagine your most important data is a treasure chest. Instead of just guarding the door to the room the chest is in, Zero Trust puts this dynamic force field around the chest itself. And that force field demands to see an ID from anyone or anything that tries to access it every single time. No exceptions. Now, to put strategies like zero trust into practice, professionals need a solid plan. A key tool for this is called a gap analysis. It's a really systematic way to improve your defenses. First, you figure out where you are now to identify the gaps or weakness. Second, you develop a strategy to fix the most critical gaps first. And finally, you make sure your whole plan is aligned with all the legal rules and industry standards. So, as Anthony is discovering, this field is about so much more than just technology. It's this massive ecosystem with a huge range of opportunities. And what he's also learning is that cybersecurity isn't just the IT department's job. It's a shared responsibility for every single person in an organization. In his conversations with a colleague, Jenna, who's a network administrator, Anthony's eyes are just open to the sheer number of paths he could take. I mean, he could become a cybersecurity analyst, basically a detective for the network, or a penetration tester, that's an ethical hacker who finds weaknesses before the bad guys do. He could be an engineer who actually builds the defenses, or maybe one day even a chief information security officer, a CISO, leading the entire strategy. This is the advice that Jenna gives to Anthony, and honestly, it's the core message for anyone interested in this field. An entry-level role isn't the end of the road. It's the foundation you build on. The key to growing and finding your spot in this huge world is to just stay curious and never, ever stop learning. You know, in just a few months, Anthony has gone from answering basic interview questions to understanding these complex security frameworks and the very real threats they're meant to stop. He's becoming a true advocate for security. And his journey is really just getting started. So that brings us to the final question, one for you to think about. What will your first step be?